The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Friends in Recovery podcast, the podcast that is here to help you, a loved one, or a friend get started down the road to recovery. This is the Friends in Recovery podcast, brought to you by the Genesis House. Genesis House, providing a safe, nurturing environment to heal from addiction since 1992. Please be a friend and share our message with a friend on Podbean, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or YouTube. And now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hey everybody, welcome to Friends in Recovery podcast, and we're podcasting live from Studio 21 Podcast Cafe up here in beautiful Salem, New Hampshire.
Yes, it is.
I am Mike Miles, the Podfather.
I'm Jersey Ed.
Jersey Ed. Jersey's not the Podfather. We have a special guest today. We got Tom Burruel with us.
That's right, but we can't forget.
Oh, before we start, we have to.
The show would not be available without.
Well, it'd be available. It just wouldn't be as good.
It wouldn't be as good.
With our producer extraordinaire, Ed Sullivan.
That's right.
Listen, I've missed you guys.
As Ed always says.
With the car?
Welcome to our shoe. Welcome to our shoe.
Yeah, we brought Ed Sullivan back from the grave.
Right.
He's looking good.
He does.
I feel pretty good. Yeah. That's what they said. And nobody's ever seen Ed, though.
No.
We should turn the camera on him.
Ed's got a face for radio.
Yes,
I
he
do.
does. Yes, that's it. And a body for radio.
Everything.
But he does a great job. So, Ed, what's going on? Anything new?
That's your opinion.
We got a few things over there. We
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah. It's been a while since I seen Ed, so I was off last week.
You like looking at him.
Where did you say I was in the, what was I doing? Playing polo.
You were doing, no. I said you were grooming polo ponies.
Yeah, grooming polo ponies. I wouldn't even know where to find a polo pony.
Sure.
And I took a much-needed break last week, and thank you.
For filling in?
Yeah.
It was a great show with Bob Cox.
It was a great show. Bob Cox is doing a lot.
Yeah, Bob's doing great. He's really hitting the ground running.
The Bridge Club.
The Bridge Club in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Watch that episode, everybody. Right?
33 East Merrimack Street.
Yeah. All right. Well, we want to thank Genesis House for setting up this beautiful studio so we can spread the message of hope every week. If you enjoy Friends in Recovery podcast, join us for our Friends in Recovery community-supported events. We hold monthly gatherings in Florida and New Jersey, Massachusetts, coming soon with Bob Cox, I believe, right?
Correct.
Yep. Check out our Facebook page for updates, and that would be Friends in Recovery. That's our Facebook
podcast,
page.
Right?
Follow our Facebook page and subscribe on YouTube and all your podcast catchers. As always, we're looking for new recovery stories and professionals who are willing to take a fresh approach to addiction treatment and recovery. Reach out to our Facebook page for more information. The website, the Facebook page is Friends in Recovery, and you can also email us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com.
Correct.
And that will get to us directly. Make sure anything that you go on any of our social media, make sure you subscribe, like, whatever it is, because more and more people get to tune into this and share this also. Share it out there. Make sure that you get this out to somebody else that's listening or might be suffering. This is a good addiction podcast. One thing I was doing, Mike, I was scrolling through some podcasts. And, I've been watching a lot of podcasts since we've been doing this.
Right.
And there's not a show exactly like ours out there. There's shows on addiction. There's shows on family addiction. There's how-tos. But this is kind of the nitty-gritty. We bring in, like Tom, we're going to kind of have as a guest here, but bring people into the studio and kind of give them the story, the how-to, this is how it's done.
That's correct.
There's the Joe Rogan, not that he's in recovery, but there, a lot of those Joe Rogan podcasts out there, they're kind of tongue-in-cheek and they kind of fly off the handle. But
right.
This is one of the first podcasts that I've ever seen like this. So.
Well, it's about helping people, and that's what when we first started this, we were told by our producer extraordinaire and Dave Garatho, who owns the Studio 21. Dave has had many podcasts. I've been doing it for years. I didn't even know what a podcast was, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And we decided we wanted to help people. And when we did our first podcast, I think everybody was kind of pleased and surprised pleasantly surprised that we were about helping people, and it's not about us so much as it is about what we offer for services.
Yeah.
And we have our guest today, Tom Burruel, and Tom does interventions. I think that's part of what you do, correct?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And I did my first intervention on my own a few weeks ago. I've been involved in interventions before.
How'd that go?
It didn't go well. And I usually don't panic, and
Right.
not that I did, but I was a little, I was a little disappointed because I had high expectations, and I really, this gentleman definitely needs to be in treatment, but it just didn't go well.
Sure.
And I felt like a failure, and it's, I had to give myself about 12 hours to realize that this isn't my forte.
Right.
I do help people get in treatment that want to get in treatment, and that's easy peasy. I call Ed and we get it done.
Right.
But trying to talk someone into it
Yeah.
that direly needs it,
Yeah.
and really is I'd say on his last leg, it was just very disappointing. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to. I know we spoke last night.
Sure.
And you're definitely an interesting guy, and obviously you it's what you do. So
Yeah.
without any further ado, talk a little bit about yourself.
Take it away. We're going to go sit in the audience.
Oh, okay.
It's all yours now.
Fair enough. That's how it rolls.
It
Okay.
works. It works better for us.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
But I know Ed needs some help over there at the board, so I'll go over and give him a hand.
Thanks. The satellites.
Yeah, he's
now.
always-
Oh, the satellite! I forgot the satellite. I know. I will go out and prime the satellite
All right.
for you,
Thank you.
but via satellite. Go ahead.
Well, no,
Sorry, Tom.
that's okay. First off, I want to say thank you. Thank you for you guys having me on. I've known Ed Chionchio here for about 12 years now.
Yeah.
And so we go back a little bit. But Mike, it was great getting to meet you and know you
Same here.
last night and everything. But yeah, I'm the co-founder of a company called Intervention 180, and we're based out of Boise, Idaho. Right. Having said that, we deliver our services nationally. We go to our families that are in crisis, and we intervene on everything from substance use disorders, from addiction, chemical addiction, to process addictions that could be anything from gambling, shopping, pornography, sex, to the mental health spectrum, anything from a mood disorder or personality disorder, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, bipolar, borderline personality, Cool. And so I think the big thing for us, a lot of times, people ask and they say, are you on the show Intervention? No, we're not on the show Intervention. Right? I have a number of colleagues and great friends that are on there.
Sure.
And tremendous amount of respect. And I love the fact that Intervention, that show, has raised the awareness.
Sure.
And brought it into the more modern day culture, if you will.
Yeah,
that we don't have to wait for an addict to hit bottom.
Correct.
I think for a long time. I'll never forget having a friend that had overdosed in high school, and a family member saying, or those of us saying, "Hey, why didn't we do something?
Right.
Why didn't we do something?" And his mom, her response was, "We heard he had to hit bottom," and that to me, I remember, because it could have easily been me, could have easily been a number of us other friends, and so. That stigma, though, or that mentality is still out there. It's not as prevalent as it was, but it used to be such a huge culture. It was, you can't help them until they hit bottom. I don't know where it got into that thought, but no, we use intervention as a way of raising the bottom.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that's
Right.
the biggest thing, because we look at the numbers. I think it was 68,000 actually last year that
Wow.
that overdosed and died. And so if we're looking at, and that's in a year, okay. To give it perspective, 9/11, we lost, tragic day for all of us in this country.
Sure.
We lost about 4,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, 4,000 people.
Yeah.
And we look at all the things that we've done in response to that and how it's changed and impacted from anything from TSA to Homeland
Oh, yeah.
Security
Yeah.
to all these things.
Yeah.
And yet last year, 68,000.
Right.
And then
Opiate.
and the year before that was 72,000.
Wow.
So, I mean, the
And
numbers
the
are
other thing too about
so
9/11 was
drastic.
almost 20 years ago, also.
Right. And so,
So-
we're looking at this and going, gosh, we really have to address this. And it's just been slow learning curve of people that are finally realizing that we need to have drastic response.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is that I want, families to know that, we don't wait for an addict to hit bottom. But I do know one thing is that families intervene when they've reached their emotional bottom, when they've realized that they say, hey, we can't continue to do this.
Right. Yeah.
We're on an emotional roller coaster, And one thing I would say to you, Mike, is intervention's a process. A lot of times, because of that show, we think of it as a one-day event,
Right.
And that if that individual didn't go into treatment the day of intervention, then it failed. But the reality is, we have a way where we come in and prep the families, and then there's about 5%, maybe 7% that don't go day of intervention.
Right.
And then what we do is we educate those families as to what do you do now, and in helping them start to engage in their own recovery and in starting to focus on their own mental health first. I travel a lot for this this great country. In fact, my mom, she saw that movie Up in the Air, I think, with George Clooney, and she was like, "Honey, that's you." Like you're always on a plane, right? You're always on a plane, and it's true. It's true. But one of the things about flying is I always get to hear that safety speech. That should the air pressure drop, right? Please administer the airbags will drop, and please administer
Take care of yourself
first if you're traveling with a child. And I really that's the focus when I come in and start to work with the family is, hey, I need you to put the oxygen on first for you. So you've got to start making a focus on self-care for you first.
That's a good point.
So that you can then be capable and able to show up for your loved one. But so often, in a family system that is being dominated by an addict or an alcoholic or someone with severe mental health, is that the whole family system has begun to start circling around the addict or their identified patient, and they've shifted the whole way in which they are living. They're walking on eggshells. They're avoiding certain conversations for fear of what they're going to do. They're not being congruent. They're saying, how are you doing? I'm fine. So often I will check in with families and before I work with them, usually when I ask how are you doing, it's almost always in reference to their loved one. They say, "Oh, well, Jimmy, he's had a rough day today, so I'm not doing well." It's always
or their emotions are running on somebody else.
Or Jimmy's, or he got up today and he checked the mail and he checked the mail and he came out of his room.
Or he called and asked if somebody was hiring. I hear all that. I hear that all the time. Or he went to a job interview. Well, Jimmy's 37 years old.
Yeah, and he's video gaming. He's gaming. And we intervene on that as well. Video game addiction is just as prevalent right now. It's on the rise, and we're seeing it more and more. And so. It's really it really is a process that we're helping to lead families through it and helping them to get out of the role because there's a dance, right? There's a dance that occurs. A lot of times when families are avoiding those conversations and they're not being congruent, they're hostages to the relationship, right? They're kind of hijacked.
100%. 100%.
And so when they're behaving like that, that dance has been so ingrained that, I explained to them, once we get their loved one into treatment, they need to still address the dance because now, if they don't, their fear is that their loved one's going to relapse now. So like once they get out and when they come back home from treatment, they're like, oh, we can't put too much pressure on them or you're going to cause them to relapse. It's still the fear is that they're going to use or that they're going to be reactivated and back into that same cycle.
Exactly.
So it really is about, intervention is about intervening on that family system as a whole. I understand that they were motivated to call me because of their loved one. It's always we need you to help them take care of them. And if we get them fixed.
Even if you get down to it, they were motivated by the crisis, not even by the love, but by the crisis that was going on. Obviously, it was the loved one, but the crisis. They're not going to call you when Johnny Boy's doing okay.
Exactly.
He's not using, not as much, or it's when the crisis hits. That's when the intervention.
100%. It's all. I say it all the time, and it was true in my own life. Right, was pain being that great motivator. And so usually a hallmark of that is that that crucible moment where the loved one is being incarcerated or there's a DUI or something something that's traumatic that's like what has precipitated what has happened that has brought the conversation to the forefront and usually once you get them starting in telling their story they begin to start unpacking it and realizing it's been going on a lot longer than
And
they ever
even
thought
just,
it would.
Even just letting them talk too. Even when I have a loved one call me on the phone for some help for their loved one, you just let them talk a little bit. You know, you let them talk. You let them get it out. Oh yeah, they talk, but they need that because they don't know which way to go and they don't know how to do it. So, but.
Hey, Friends of Recovery podcast, podcasting live from Studio 21 in beautiful Salem, New Hampshire. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Genesis House is a premier substance abuse and rehabilitation facility located in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. We have been providing the highest quality of addiction treatment since 1992 and are accredited by the Joint Commission. We offer a range of programs that include detox, residential treatment, dual diagnosis, a Christian track for people who want to incorporate their faith into treatment, a uniform services track, and we work with most major insurance carriers. Genesis House is led by a dedicated team of administrative and clinical professionals, and we stand on our commitment to excellence in recovery services. Contact us today to find out more about our program. Take the first step and call Genesis House at 800-737-0933 or visit us on the web at www.genesishouse.net. That's 800-737-0933 or www.genesishouse.net. Begin your journey to a long and successful recovery with Genesis House.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Friends in Recovery podcast and podcasting.com. Podcasting live from Studio 21. I am the Podfather here with Jersey Ed and Tom Burruel.
Hello.
And Tom was talking prior to the break. We were talking about interventions. And,
well, I'd like to say one thing. I'd like to do an intervention on our producer Ed.
Yeah,
is that possible?
Yeah,
because he's getting kind of ornery in his old age.
Oh yeah,
you're pretty old, right?
Oh yeah, I'm like 100 or more.
So, do you think we can get that going after the show? We can flip that camera on and we can do the whole intervention on
we'll make an
Here's the
accommodation.
problem you face: you reach a certain age where you say anything you're thinking.
Filter's gone.
there's no filter.
It just flies out.
I think that coincides with there's an age in which folks don't even look in the rearview mirror to see when they're backing up. They
Why
just
bother?
back up. They just
Why bother?
back up.
I don't even have one
age.
of those.
Oh, boy.
He requested to be out when he bought the car.
I started doing that in my 50s. I'm an expert at it.
It's like those old movies you see where there's no rear view mirror.
Right.
You know, we were talking about intervention and some of the platitudes and different types of methods you use. And the intervention I went on was a guy I know pretty well and his wife, and they have a 40-something-year-old son going through a divorce. His wife doesn't want him living there, so they have him. Right. And they're just the classic enablers. They're buying him 10 nips a day just to keep him happy and making his dinner. And they walk, like you said, they're walking on eggshells. Yep. He's here. Oh, no, he's here. And as soon as he walked in, he saw me sitting at the table, and his exact words were, "Oh, what the fuck is going on?" Right away. He's and, what they don't know is I had seen this. He had come to me for help a couple years ago, and they didn't know that, and I couldn't tell them that.
Sure.
But we got reconnected. But just the enabler, and it was like the classic, just these parents, wonderful people. Right. And I'm more worried about their mental health because I'm afraid they're not young people. They're in their 70s. Right. And, it's just this boy had no intention, no desire, just a combative, argumentative, just right from the get-go. Yeah. And I knew it wasn't going to be a good thing, and I thought of calling Ed, but it's so good, like, Tom, to meet you and then to meet Mike, see Mike again last night, because what you said about it being a dance it's so much like, you really have to have the intuitiveness to go forward, and then also to have the temperament, because I don't have the temperament. Right. I was a cop 35 years. I get challenged, and sometimes I have to keep myself, seated. Because
But Mike, one thing you did do is you planted the seed, and we spoke about this yesterday. The seed is planted, and that kid's using.
And that's what I told them.
That kid's using is never going to be the same because of you, and that's a good thing. That's going to be in the back of his mind. He may not come to treatment a year, maybe two, whatever it is, but every time he picks something up or every time he fucks something up, it's going to be, God, man, maybe that guy was right. So it'll chip away at him eventually, or depending on what he's using it, something might kill him before that, unfortunately. Like I was saying in a meeting we were at today, we don't have the essence of time on our side anymore when in this addiction, because it is the opiates.
Sure.
The opiates are taking people. We were just talking 68,000 people this year, right? Was that the statistic?
Yeah, it was last year.
Last year, 68,000 people.
Yeah, and we're on pace for that this year.
Yeah, we're on pace for that, and it's not like with cocaine and alcohol, where it was killing us slowly. We all were in that alcohol thing.
Sure.
It was killing us slowly.
Yep.
You have alcoholics that live into their 80s. They're all fucked up and they have a lot of major problems.
Right.
But this stuff is killing these young kids immediately.
Right.
And we really don't have time to really sit around and wait for that guy to kind of come around,
Well, and the discouraging thing is that when families, when they, oftentimes what I've been seeing in my experience has been that their loved one goes to treatment and maybe they relapse, and then all of a sudden there becomes somehow this narrative that surfaces that treatment doesn't work.
Right.
And it didn't work.
Or the place he went to.
Or
that place is no good.
Yeah, that place is no good, or he didn't, or and treatment doesn't work.
I got that. Yeah.
And that's just untrue. And
listen, a shoebox with two alcoholics will work if you want it to work. Seriously.
Well, and kind of to go off of what you were saying there, Ed, is like, one thing I do know is we can't unlearn what we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
So going into treatment, it does matter. It does pay off. Now we're sitting there and we're using and we're loaded with a bunch of knowledge that we can't really fully walk away from. So my emphasis is always in connecting with the family to make sure that we get them guided on their own road of recovery, moving them out of the role of being the sobriety police.
Yeah,
because I think that's also the temptation is that it's let me give them 10 nips. Like
10 nips
let me be the one
to
kind of control it. Right, exactly, and that just reinforces that crazy making system.
Sure. Well, they're giving him 10 nips, but he has the case of beer hidden somewhere downstairs,
the laundry room or whatever. There's a flask.
While mom and dad go out, he's running
in
out
the dirty
to the
clothes or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I had a client once, and his father was a great guy. He was a police officer, and the father was a police officer, and the son was a heavy opiate user, and the father was actually giving him $100 a day to get 3 30s a day just to keep him somewhat stable.
Right.
And the father ends up actually going to some of these seedy places to buy the drugs because he couldn't get a prescription anymore. And I said, look what you're doing. You're jeopardizing not just your son and your wife, but your other children and your own career. You got to step away. And I don't know where that family is now. I know where they are. I don't know where they're at. I haven't spoken to them, but it just made me realize how powerful this disease can be. That you
100%.
And the closer it is to you, the closer it is to you, if it's someone you love and care about, and you're enabling them, you'll just about do anything, and that's what people have to learn is they do have to step away. And tough love is tough love. And what I love is what if we put him out in the street? What if he dies? Well, you know what? He's dying anyway, and he's dying like this. And believe me, he's got a better chance being out in the street.
Mike, I have an answer for that, and we got that from one of our previous shows. Remember the woman who said addicts, her answer to that was, and I don't, correct me if I'm wrong if you believe this, or I understand it 100%. She said that that put the addict out and let him go live, on the street, blah blah blah. Well, what if they're going to die out in the street? Addicts are very resourceful. They know how to couch surf. They know where to go live. They know where by you keeping them in the house, it's just going to increase their using, increase what they're doing, and once they're out there, they're going to have to worry about survival mode, and then drug mode or alcohol mode. So she did have a point. They're going to survive out there. They're not going to die. Out there.
So
we don't know that.
Well, here's what I've kind of learned and seen over the years, and again, I've been doing this for about 16 years now, 12 years with my company Intervention 180, and it's that families find themselves on the spectrum of either enabler or amputator. Okay, so they're like, I'm going to go and do everything for you, or I'm going to cut you out surgically. Done.
And which one gets the best results? Would you say?
And so what I find is that as I'm able to coach and help guide my families into recovery for themselves to get off the emotional roller coaster, it's not meant like when we set boundaries. Boundaries are meant to keep our families safe, sane, happy and healthy, and it's not meant to be punitive. And a lot of times I think people will go, you cut them out, throw them out, and it becomes this punitive thing of like a war of us against them. Yeah. And what I know is, if you lose the opportunity for dialogue, you're not going to be able to get them back in. You know, like pain. I do agree that pain is a great motivator, but at the same time, these are sick people.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're sick and hurting,
Right.
and they're hurting, and so we have to have that engagement to be able to have an opportunity for that dialogue. Now, it may mean, yes, we've got, we need you to move out, but it's not because you're a piece of crap.
Yeah.
You know,
We love you.
we love you, but
hate
for
your
our
disease.
own, yeah. Because here, classic example, and I was talking to someone. They were saying, what's been one of the best things that's furthered your career in terms of education, training, things like that? And I said, you know what? It was having children. Because prior to having kids, I was, kind of looking at families and going, gosh, they're enabling like in such a toxic way, right?
Yeah.
I had this, and then I had my own child and realized, I thought I knew what love was, and then I had a child, and now I can see why one would enable.
Different love.
Right, because of the love. It would love so deeply. But I had a conversation with this dad. This was probably, 14 years ago. It was when I, was first starting and first couple of years. And he was a dad that was in Pennsylvania, and he was buying heroin because his friend had found his, he had gotten word back from his friend that had witnessed his daughter performing some sexual acts, while parked in a car, on the street as he's coming to his house, And that dad said, Tom, listen, my daughter's never going to have to do that. That's not going to happen. Right. And so he would give her the money for her heroin. And he knew that absolutely every week the money was going straight to heroin. Yep. And I had to ask him the question, where does that leave you if or when she overdoses on the heroin that you bought her?
Yep.
And that was the tipping point where he said, I have to, I cannot give her the money. I can't live with, and so it's identifying those things of what's going to move you to a healthy place where you can sleep at night. So the family, again, that oxygen, they're taking care of themselves first. Oh yeah. And then in a healthy way, be able to show up and mirror that love.
That addict's going to get that drugs no matter what.
Right.
No matter if it's going to be in the backseat of a car, if mom and dad are giving it to them. And like I just said before, there's a good chance they're going to overdose. Yeah. So however they do it, you have, and you, like you said, you have to take care of yourself.
Right.
Do you want to be guilty for giving them that money?
Exactly.
And, but some people don't understand that. Some people don't get that we're hurting our kids because here's the other reason why we've been taking, and this, you have kids now. We've been taking care of our kids all their lives, and we want to protect them. So now something bad's happening to them, and we're telling you don't take care of them. That's bullshit. Yeah, we think it's bullshit, but it's not. It's something extremely hard that we have to do, but it's something that's necessarily it has to be done because again, it's taking care of yourself, taking care of number one, putting that oxygen.
100%, 100%. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to have an opportunity to share with you guys is not only do we do interventions, but we also do case management and monitoring, and this is something that is such a huge piece. I feel like it's the needed piece to help with the chronic relapser, the person that goes into treatment and then comes out and relapses and things like that. And it helps. So we case manage the family system as a whole. So not just their loved one. Right. Mm-hmm. So they have their own coach and recovery advocate, and their loved one does too, excuse me. And we've partnered with an agency, and I think you guys need to have Bev on here. I don't know if you have. Bev Buncher. Are you familiar with her?
No.
She started the Balm Institute, and she wrote the book, The Balm, and it stands for Be a Loving Mirror. Okay. But it's really a guidebook for families as to how to stay in their lane, in their own recovery, and at the same time being the best opportunity for their loved one to achieve long-term sobriety and recovery. So,
and we know that recovery, certain types of recovery is not for everybody.
100%.
An old school alcoholic who goes to meetings 3 times a week and, he's just 90 and 90, and you got to do the steps and you're going to that might be great for him, but it may not be great for his son or daughter that's 20 or 21 years old.
That's right.
So you can find your own recovery. But, the most important thing is, and I'm so glad you come on the show today, is that there is help out there. There's
100%.
There's thousands of people that
hell yeah
that are willing to work hard and help you. And you know what? you're one of them. I mean, you flew out here to be with us the last couple of days, and we've had a lot of fun doing these podcasts and get to know each other. But more importantly, what a great connection to have somebody that I can pick up the phone and give you a call. And
I appreciate it.
I can't thank you enough for being on the show,
let's give out some phone numbers so we can contact you, Tom.
Well, first off, on the web, we're found at intervention180.org. That's O-R-G, intervention180.org. And we have a nationwide 888-435-7960.
Yeah. And that's how you get a hold of Tom. Mike,
you want to give us your call me at my office, Therapy Services, 978-459-4884.
And also Genesis House, 800-737-0933. Any of those three numbers will get you to any three of us. We're all friends. We all work together. This is I hate to quote her, but it takes a village. And I'm not going to say her name, but it does take a village, and especially with this disease. So.
That's right. It does take a village. And even if evil witch doctor said that, it does take a village. Thank you, everybody.
Stay sober.
Thanks, guys.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.